of the recording on the town's website and or other town social media. This time, everyone's mic is muted. The board's mics will be unmuted, though, through the whole meeting. And as items appear on the agenda, the project representatives' mics will be unmuted. If the project is a public hearing and allows for public comment, we ask that you use the chat feature to ask your question by listing your name and address and your question. The chair will recognize all questions in order. You can also use the raise my hand feature in the participant menu, and you will be unmuted when the chair recognizes you. Again, please state your name and address before asking your questions. If you're on the phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. So we're going to start here. We have applicant Manuel Bajinga. He's requesting a special permit under section 6.12, requesting a retreat lot. So we can put it out there. The requirements under 6.12 for a retreat lot are that the total property have 150,000 square feet. There must be 40,000 square feet of contiguous land, upland. Requires a 30-foot frontage for road access. The minimum lot width has to be 30 feet. And if the driveway were to be greater than 300 feet, there has to be a hammerhead at the end or some other form of turnaround. At this time, is Larry going to be presenting this?
Yes.
Okay, I welcome Larry Silver for the applicant.
Good evening. It's Lawrence Silva from Silver Engineering Associates. Our office is at 1615 Bedford Street in Bridgewater. This is a continuation of a meeting that was opened on the 24th of June. There were additional notifications that were done subsequent to that. And there were also letters sent out to all the abutters that had been notified originally. We gave them a reminder letter in addition, so that everyone was adequately notified. The proposal, as you see on this plan, is to create a retreat lot in order to allow for development of a single-family house on the property, which is really on map 124, lot 12 is really where the house will be located. But there have been 2 additional parcels added to this. There are 2 parcels that are currently owned by my client and 2 that are under agreement to be purchased in order to provide the access that's needed. The access will be from Vernon Street, adjacent to 1180, between 1180 and 1188 Vernon Street. The corridor will come in through there. There will be a wetland crossing, and we will cross Snows Brook and then continue in. And as you see on the plan, we come to a turnaround, which is required, and basically the driveway will continue to the house location, which will be basically in the meat of the lot itself. In the middle of the plan that I show, there is a section which says what's being requested, and then there are all the statistics in comparison to the requirements are listed there. Under 6.12, a retreat lot requires 150,000 square feet of area, and we're providing 38.4 acres. So instead of 3.4 acres, we're over 10 times that amount. We have to have continuous upland of 0.92 acres, and we have about 24 acres of contiguous upland. We have minimum frontage requirement of 30 feet. We have 64 feet. Minimum lot width requirement of 30 feet. We have 58. We've provided for a turnaround because the driveway length is greater than 300. And There needs to be a minimum driveway separation to nearby driveways of 25 feet, and we're providing 56 feet. So there are a number of steps that need to be taken in order to be able to develop the property. The first here is to have a special permit granted by this board. And then as listed on this plan, it will require us to formulate an A&R plan, an approval not required plan for the planning board to endorse, which will reference this special permit. We have to file with the Conservation Commission and get approval for the wetland crossing and access to the lot itself. We have to do percolation testing and design of a septic system to support the single family house. And then the final step will be a building permit in order to construct the house itself. So we have our work cut out for us in order to be able to make this happen. But obviously this is the first step, and we're looking for your endorsement or your approval of this special permit request in order to be able to move forward.
Hey, thanks, Larry.
Okay.
I don't have any questions. Jerry or Anna, do you have any questions for Larry?
No, I have none.
Okay, then Anna, you're all set? Anna, you
Yes, I'm no questions.
All right. Then why don't we open it up to any public question or comment?
See, Jessica Collins has a question.
Yep, she's unmuted.
I'm unmuted?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. My first question is in regard to the turnaround. My understanding of the turnaround with the 300 feet, it means within 300 feet, there needs to be a turnaround. That's what the definition looks like to me. So after 300 feet, there needs to be a turnaround, not, that's what that says right there, which would mean 300 feet from the street to going towards the property where he's going to build the house.
Well,
It
really,
needs to be a turnaround, correct?
if the driveway to the property is going to be 300 feet or more, it does require hammerhead, which is a form of turnaround, or some other form.
Right.
It's mainly to get emergency vehicles down there. So in that case, it's really not 300 feet. It's in the past, the applicants have worked with the fire department to understand where they want the turnaround. It may, because if you're going, you go 300 feet and you have a turnaround, but the house is 400 feet back, that doesn't work.
Right, but where this house is going to be, it's going to be like at least 900 feet back there. So there's going to be, that's where I don't understand. I mean, it says right there, it needs to be a turnaround within 300 feet. That's what the law says right there.
The 300.
Mr.
No,
Chairman.
what it actually says is that if the
Yeah, I was just
driveway
gonna
exceeds 300 feet, there needs to be a turnaround. It doesn't say the turnaround has to be within 300 feet.
Yeah, yeah, it's not, it has to be.
Driveway length shall not exceed 300 linear feet without a hammerhead or other method. No, I don't see it that way, actually.
I apologize for that, but that's not the way it reads. It's
Okay.
basically telling you that a driveway shall not, yeah, as you said, shall not exceed 300 feet
Without.
a turnaround. So, you know, if it's 400 feet, it's going to have a turnaround. It doesn't say the turnaround's at 300.
Okay. All right. So I guess that would lead to my next question, because I'm worried about snow, you know, removal in this very narrow area that it's going into. So I don't know if that would be more on the Conservation Commission section, if that would be going into that because this is a very narrow area.
Well, it's
Um,
60 something feet. It's 64 feet going out. The road, I don't know where it's going to be placed. As Larry kind of pointed out, the other side of it is you can't have a driveway within 25 feet of another driveway.
Right.
Looking at the maps quickly the other day, and Larry said they were over 50 feet apart. Even if he put it in the center, and Steve, what's a regular width of a driveway?
25 feet.
15 feet. 12 to 15.
12 to 15 feet's the average driveway.
Yeah, 25 feet's a road. This is
No,
a
it said nine. I looked it up. It said 9 to 25 feet. So I just,
The average is like 15, so you'll still get a fair amount of land on either side of the road, and that's up to the individual.
Right.
It's not
right. With the type of vehicles though that will be going up and down this driveway, it's not going to be just a typical vehicle from what I understand, like a car or a regular truck. So.
Well, it's a residential area, so
Right.
that's.
But I mean, to go back to the snow question, though, I mean, the question I'm asking about the snow removal is because of where it goes into the brook, the Snows Brook. It's gonna push. Is he gonna push the snow right into Snows Brook, which is Taunton River, which is protected? Is that's why I'm asking? Is that a conservation?
That's a
commission
conservation
question?
issue. That's
Okay.
That's beyond us.
Okay.
We are purely right now. The only thing that we are addressing is the special permit request, and there's certain guidelines, as you saw in the bylaws, that it has to meet for us to grant it. Now that's just, as Larry kind of pointed out, that's step one. He's got to go to Conservation Commission and the building inspector and everything for other permits. We're just dealing with the special permit right now. That's our only authority here.
Right. Okay.
Can we just
Gotcha.
Can we just get your address for the record, please?
What's that?
Can we just get your address for the record?
Sure. 1200 Vernon.
Thank you. Did you have any other questions?
I guess that was really my only one. The rest of them were more towards the Conservation Commission side, so I will hold that.
Okay, thank you.
And we have Shane Baronesi. You're unmuted.
Am I good?
Yep.
All right, great. You guys, everybody can see me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. So my biggest concern was last year when he tried to pull a permit down for 1,300, the access road, a 15-foot barrier buff access road to get back to where he wanted to go. My understanding was from the building inspector, he said that he approved it based on building on the original foundation. So that wasn't Manny's intention at all. I have talked to Manny several times previously, and now he went and bought 10 more acres, which is all land, okay? There was never there was an easement between my yard and my neighbor's yard, but there was never actually an access road there. And what he wants to do is come in and fill in about, I would say, 200 lineal feet by whatever he needs, going across Snows Brook, across a federal mandated flood zone. I pay flood insurance at my house at 1188 Vernon Street, okay? So what is that? I have 2 sump pumps in my house that run constantly. So what is that going to do if he decides to fill in everything and put in his 12-foot or whatever it is culvert that he's gonna put in there to disrupt everything? I go, I live there. I said it from day one. when the water comes down, it comes from, we'll say 104, Forest Street, Cross Street, wherever it comes from, the golf course, it all drains into behind my yard. And now he wants to build some kind of road or a driveway to disrupt that. I said, there's all kinds of wildlife out there. I said, this is a deal that was made, and I'm sorry, but it has been made through Kravitz and SEA, whoever he is. They were.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. This is conservation. This
Yes,
has nothing to do with what
This
we're here
will be,
tonight.
and I am willing to bring in the state, federal, whatever I have to do, historical society, because there's history back there. For him to go through there, there was never an easement there to access to make a road through there, and that's what he wants to do.
Right now, just understand what the purpose of this is.
And I understand.
What our authority is.
I do understand that, but once everybody gets involved, there's wildlife out there. It's endangered. There's migrating birds that come back every single year that nest out there. There's all kinds of wildlife, and that's one thing maybe he didn't think of to access that land. Now, one thing I will say, what he did do, he said he would do, he did it. He lowered the level of the water back there by taking boards out on Sturdivant's Pond. He took those 2 boards down. It lowered the level by 6 inches. He also had a lot of it cleaned out down by 1300 where he originally wanted to go through. So I have seen it. I've noticed it. It has helped. So I don't know where we go from here, but all I know is between my yard and 1180 or 1181, wherever you want to consider where that 64 easement was, that is a significant wetland area.
No easement.
And
So
it's
I've lived here my whole life. My whole life, I've seen it. I've seen the changes. And for somebody to go in, there and try to disrupt all that, you're disrupting a lot of things. There's so much endangered wildlife out there. You don't even know. You haven't done tests. You haven't done studies. There are spotted turtles out there. Yeah.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, none of that is under our purview and why we're here tonight. We're here for a special permit for a retreat lot, and all of those areas are part of Concom's review. None of
And
that
what you need to
part of
know,
our review.
but what you need to know is he wants to combine 4 separate lots into one big lot. Stanley Kravitz owned that land. His parents or grandparents owned that land. It was deemed wetlands back then. It should be deemed wetlands now.
there's
So that,
It's
So
got
then-
nothing to do with us.
there's
Wow.
plenty of wetlands. We understand that. And as far as, the applicant looking to merge lots, number one, that's what section 6.12 does.
Okay.
And once he does that, that's it. That land is now considered a retreat lot. He gets
Okay.
one house on it.
One
So
house.
if that's what he wants to do, that's his right. All we are here to do is either grant him a special permit or not. After that, as his engineer pointed out, he has a long road to hoe to get out there for many of the
Exactly.
things you pointed
Exactly.
out. But
But
those issues have to go to Concom. It's not our purview. We don't have authority over those.
Okay.
as well
So
as to the
all I'm
planning
saying
board.
is, now, does conservation work hand in hand with you to approve that?
No,
They don't.
we
Okay.
don't. It's all on them. It's
It's
all
all on them.
It's all in conservation. Again, all we can do is say, yep, you can according to the bylaws, you can take these lots. Yep, you've got 150,000 square feet. Yes, you have 40. Yes, you meet all the requirements. If you meet all the requirements of the bylaw, then you get the permit. That doesn't mean you get to build. That just means you now have what could
go forward,
a registered retreat lot. Now
Okay.
you have to go. That's all you have. That's all this meeting is doing, is establishing that the applicant has a retreat lot, an approved.
a right to be able to combine those lots
Absolutely.
to make an access way through there.
Well, he's got a lot now with 64 feet of road frontage.
Mm-hmm.
It's only required to have 30, which means he can put a road through there for a driveways. I wouldn't call it a road because it's for a personal residence. But in order to do that, he's now got to go to, planning board and Concom and all the other departments within the town to make sure that he does it properly, and that if there are mitigating and remediations that need to be done, they will, those people deal with that because they're more adept at dealing with that.
So
We aren't.
So you're telling me right now that you have no connection with conservation or anything. All your job is to deem what he purchased, his lots, combining all 4 lots together as a throughway to access the main lot.
It's a retreat lot.
It's a retreat lot, meaning he combined, he brought everything together, all 4 lots that he purchased.
Correct.
To put one house back there.
Correct.
One house.
Correct. Because a retreat lot, you can only do one single residence on a retreat lot.
On a retreat. So he has 38 acres behind my house, all my neighbors, going down to 1,300 to put one dwelling.
Correct.
Only one.
That's right. That's
what I want. That's what I want to know.
That's when you go for a retreat lot, that's all you can do. And once it's an established
one lot on 38 acres.
That's what the applicant wants to do. So more power to him. I'd love to be on 38 acres out in the middle of somewhere.
So would I. But 30, that's what I want to know. It's on record. One house, 38 acres.
Yes.
That's what I want to know.
We're granting, we are here with the applicant requesting the granting of a special permit to create a retreat lot, merging the 4 different lots.
Okay. Now, the 3 lots he just purchased from Stanley Kravitz.
2.
10 acres. 10. No, there were 3. There was 2, 7, and 1. The one directly behind my house. I have it. I know.
But I have the application in the.
Okay, but there's 3 lots that he purchased on top of the 81. There's 3 different lots he purchased.
Well, he already owned lots 6 and 12. He already owns lots 6 and 12. I don't know who he purchased it from, but he owns.
How did he own that?
He acquired them.
Oh, he did. Okay.
That was.
Well, no, this is good, and this comes to my other notion is that he's already acquired those lots without my knowledge. This whole COVID-19 that happened, and we're on Zoom right now. It sucks because everything's been shut down. I have not been able to do my research or on anything. The courthouses, the registry of deeds, everything's been shut down. Our town hall has been shut down, and I'm supposed to be able to. I'm okay. He wants to put a driveway a foot away from my house. Is what he wants in my property line. Now you can understand. No, you don't even look at me. So, and this is supposed to be okay, and I'm not supposed to be upset. So, this whole thing with the government shutdown has put a serious hold on everything.
So the town of Bridgewater is not shut down.
I'm asking for, as a citizen, a resident who's lived in this town my whole life for a continuance. So now things are opening up. I can look into things and get the right people down here to start
Chairman,
looking into
this is going nowhere.
Yeah.
Can we move on to another?
No,
I'm
we
sure
can't.
other people have comments and questions.
Well,
I'm sure they do. You can move on.
Sure.
But this
Excuse me,
isn't
sir.
in your backyard. It's in my backyard. So that's why I'm very adamant. And I mentioned it the last 2 town meetings about the water behind my house. It's not in your basement.
And sir,
It's in
and
mine.
sir, I appreciate that.
Can we move
Go.
on, please?
Go ahead. Move on. Move on to the next person.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Look, hey, everybody, please just take it down a notch. I appreciate it. Again, let's understand what we're really trying to accomplish here and what the applicant's rights are as well. He owns 2 pieces of property. He's coming to this board requesting a special permit to create a retreat lot. That's all he's doing. And in order to do that, he has to purchase 2 additional lots, which would allow him to meet the standards of a retreat lot. That is it. That is all we're dealing with. Is for many of the things you raised, how far he has to put the road to property lines and everything. He has to deal with the planning board, with Concom. He's got a long way to go. What he's trying to do now is to get a designation of land, which is his right, and he meets, here's the reality, he meets all the requirements of a retreat lot. Whether he can build on it, that's another question. But that's the first step, and he meets those requirements. As a zoning board of appeals, that's what we have to go by. Does what the applicant requests meet the town's bylaws? And it does. But again, he's not getting a permit to build here. He is simply getting a special permit granting him the right to merge all the lots into a retreat lot. That's all he's going to get tonight, period. So if everybody would please understand that. Hey, look, we were at this before and we heard all about the water. We understand the water. That is an issue for Concom, and it's going to be, I would venture to believe it would be a big issue. And I'd venture to believe that y'all are going to be at that meeting. But let's just understand what we're trying to do tonight and what our authority as a zoning board of appeals is. It's purely to either grant a special permit or not. And right now, the applicant meets every requirement. So there is nothing that we can stand on right now to say, no, you can't have that.
We have a couple other people that want to speak.
Okay.
So Matthew Lake, I'll unmute you now. And just remember to state your address, name and address for the record.
Matt Lake, 1160 Vernon. I did have some questions and comments, but it sounds like the board's already made up a decision based on your comments. So maybe it's a moot point, but I have questions about the access to the property. And if this isn't the right forum, I apologize. But
no, go ahead.
When we met last time, it was explained to me when he tried to go down a couple houses for the easement, it was explained that these easements weren't designed or intended to be access roads or driveways. They were when the farmers sold the property, so they would have access to get to their farmland. Does anybody remember that?
Correct. What he had before, the lots that he had before, only had a 15-foot.
I know.
Property line. That's
so
it.
I want to know if this, why is this easement different?
Because he is purchasing 2 plots of land, which combined give him 64 feet of frontage. All right. The zoning bylaw for a retreat lot requires only a minimum of 30. So he more than meets the requirement to create a retreat lot. He's not going in where he was before.
I'm just asking about the access to it because obviously I'm not as well versed as the board. So I just want to understand what makes the access road different. And if it's,
it's not
the size of the parcel of land.
It's the land, yeah. The big difference in it, you know, it was asked before, well, if he went out and bought a piece of property that had a 30-foot frontage to this property, could he build? And as we said at the time, reality, under the bylaws, he could. So he's got 64 feet going out to this property. So he technically has the requirement for a retreat lot. Now, again, that's all he's asking for tonight. That's all we have the authority to grant, is a special permit creating the retreat lot. Whether he can build on it, that, you know, the applicant has to take further down it to different departments.
And I would direct all of the people with questions to our zoning bylaws. It's 6.12, and it describes for you there all of the different requirements, and those can be found online. So you can see all the different requirements that they went over with his engineer. You can see what the minimum are, and then you saw that chart that compared what the requirements are in the bylaws versus what they're actually providing. And if you go through and you look at all those, it may answer some of your questions there. But that's only, our focus only is, does he meet those, does he have the ability to check those boxes?
Yeah, and thanks, Anna. And I had cited those at the beginning. Larry Silver cited those to everybody during his presentation. And I'll go through them one more quick time for everybody. For a retreat lot, the property must have 150,000 square feet of land to it. Applicant has 36 point something acres. So he far exceeds that. So check that box. 40,000 square feet of contiguous land. As Larry pointed out, I think there's over 24 acres of contiguous upland. Check that box. You need 30 feet of frontage. The applicant is coming to the board with 64 feet of frontage. Check that box. He understands that if he does a driveway greater than 300 feet, he is going to have a turnaround, an approved turnaround. That's usually, again, dealt with the fire department and some of the other departments as to where it's placed, how big, and whatnot. The applicant understands that, and his engineer kind of explained that, you know, this is step one, and he'll have to go to Concom, and he'll have to go to planning board and some of the others to get this approved. But
Right. And Concom is the Conservation Committee, for those of you. It took me a while to get versed on the lingo. So Concom is the Conservation Committee. So yes, that's the next step, as well as the planning board. So we're only the first step in this process. And again, our goal is very limited, or our job, I'm sorry, is very limited.
All right.
I appreciate the explanation, but I mean, that's kind of why we're here, right? I shouldn't have to read all the requirements and bylaws we come to open forums as a taxpayer to ask these questions. So
no, look, again, I'm fine. Ask away. But what we want you to truly appreciate and understand is that there are basically 4 requirements that he has to meet to get a retreat lot special permit. And all I'm telling you is that, like any other person, if he comes in and he meets all those, checks all the boxes, step 1 is he gets a special permit for a retreat lot. Doesn't mean he can build, doesn't mean anything other than that he has a retreat lot.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else, Jen?
Yep, with Kevin Newton. I'll unmute you as well.
Thank you for the floor, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to keep this brief. So my first question has to do with the retreat lot itself. And you had mentioned a couple times how only one house is permitted on a retreat lot. Is there anywhere in the regulations where that's written, or is that policy?
Yeah.
No, it is written somewhere, and sorry, I'm not a bylaw.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to know exactly where it was.
We've dealt with this before, and actually I read it earlier, but
okay.
He's asking under 6.1, but in other areas of the bylaws, it does state that you only get one residence. And
okay.
Mr. Chairman, could the speaker identify where he lives?
Yes, I did identify in chat, 1370 Vernon Street.
Okay.
But just the first sentence of 6.12 says, no more than a single retreat lot shall be created for any size parcel held in single, common, or affiliate ownership allowed in any residential zone.
Okay. So to piggyback on that, would it be conditioned? I'm not familiar with the zoning process. Do you guys condition permits at all, or so would it be conditioned that way, or?
We don't issue permit. Well, this is a special permit purely to grant the formation of a retreat lot. We don't we as a zoning board of appeals do not issue any types of building permits or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, I wanted to ask a question regarding the minimum standards for the parcel, the minimum lot area, as well as the contiguous upland area. So it seems pretty evident that they've met those criteria.
Yeah.
But my question is there any confirmation from the town through something like an ANRAD or anything like that? Or do you guys sort of just take the information as is?
Larry, you can address this. I mean, the engineer has to submit plans, and on those plans, everything is outlined as to what is contiguous land, what is wetlands.
Right, when you have a parcel that's this large, you have a combination of areas that were delineated by a botanist and others that may have come from other sources because we're not even close to the thresholds. But when we go through the conservation process, we now have to have those areas agreed to by the commission for both where the wetlands are, the resource areas, and also for the crossing. And then when we finally go for the A&R plan for the approval from the planning board, that has to show on it also the limit of wetlands. So there are checks and balances through this process to make sure that we're not even close to a threshold. If we're close to a threshold, there can be, I'm going to say, more scrutiny to, is it plus or minus, a couple of feet here and there to have it actually identified and agreed to. In a case like this, it's not even really close. I mean, it's so large. But this area, wetlands, where the crossing has occurred and everything, was delineated by a botanist, Ken Thompson. And that will be the information that will be going forward to conservation when we make the submittal.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I guess my question was if you would require those permits to be filed, those applications to be filed before a decision is made through zoning, or if, I'm not sure what your policy is. I just want a clarification with that.
Steve or Jen, I don't know those.
So typically no, because the plans that we received as part of this application are stamped and certified by a professional engineer and a certified land surveyor. So we take their stamp and seal as word, because they're basically putting on the line that what they're certifying is true and correct. So, that's what we're using as what we're using for our application.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, great, thanks.
And then I believe Shane would like to speak again. Let me just unmute him.
Okay, so with all that being said, you guys are gonna give him the grant to, obviously you guys are gonna, give him the special grant to do this. That's fine, but there's gonna be a lot of investigation going on out there for the size road that he wants to pull off, driveway he wants to put through there to get to where he wants to build his house.
Correct.
So I don't have a problem with him building one house back there. I spoke to Manny a couple times and I explained my concerns as far as all the neighbors up and down the street. And I would say the minimum amount of years for every neighbor from my house down to Beach Street, 35 years minimum. We've all lived here. I've expressed my concerns to them. Nobody wants a development back there. So my thing is, I know the last meeting, 1,300 was because of the laws, the bylaws and everything. He did what he said he was going to do by lowering the level of the water. I've talked to him. I'm not throwing any of my neighbors under the bus, but if there was another way for him to access and build what he wants to build, one house, what he said, I'm on board with that, except for the fact as long as he agrees not to develop the rest of the land. And that needs to be in writing, a legal document, and distributed to every resident as long as he owns that house. Because nobody wants a development back here. It's been like this for 50 plus years. Stan Kravitz never came to me and said that, hey, somebody wanted to buy the land that he knew I was interested in to prevent this very thing we're talking about tonight. He never came to me. And I grew up, he's known me his whole life. So why didn't he come to me? And that really bothers me. And I'm just saying that there's a lot of wildlife back here. And I don't want to see a development. There's way too much. And I've expressed that in the past of how much building is going on.
Just to kind of address that and honestly,
yep,
that's what this process does. What you're asking for is you don't want development. If you don't want development, then what you want is a retreat lot. Because by law, you can only have one resident on.
Correct. And I understand that. And I've talked to Manny on several occasions. And if we can get him his house that he wants on a different avenue without going through a, you know, if you see it, a visibly conservative wetland, then if my neighbors were all on board, it's not just me, but I am for that. But what he's proposing to do with the land he just bought, it's 10 acres more, and it's just strictly wetland. It's not buildable land. So for the whatever the ratio is to fill and relocate, that I will be looking into. He cannot relocate the wetland that's already there. I have blue herrings that come here. They've been out here every day for the past 2 weeks. Back there, right? I have video right where he wants to build his road. So I'm just saying, whatever we can do.
Okay.
And I'm willing to do that. So.
All right. Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
I believe the applicant would like to speak.
Annie?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Chipman, and Larry, thank you guys for taking the time to look at this. And so I went above and beyond to try to get everything straightened out. I did everything I said I was going to do. I got denied the last time for the permit, and you guys were correct. We only had 15 feet. I mean, the board could have made a decision then, but they didn't. So I acquired these two other parcels, bought them under agreement. I mean, we're trying to build one house. I don't know how much clearer I can be that we put all the parcels together to have 38 acres to all the neighbors. We're not trying to build a development, because what is, Larry or the chairman, what is the access for development? What's the access road to get in? Is it 60 feet, 65 feet?
It's a 40-foot right of way and a 20. Right. You're going to be in the 25, 26
for the road
pavement.
So how much would we actually need, Larry, to get in an actual subdivision in there?
40 feet.
So we have what?
We have enough area to bring in a subdivision road. The problem is in crossing the wetlands, you would be exceeding the thresholds for Army Corps of Engineers, and
my point being to this gentleman, my point being is, if that was the route that I was going to go, we would have done the Army Corps of Engineers, Larry, and I would have spent the money to do this. I want 38 acres for myself. I don't think that's a crime. I've done everything that I said I was going to do, and it kind of sucks that all the neighbors are welcoming into the neighborhood like this. It's kind of an awkward situation that you want to build $1 million house on 38 acres with all these people being hostile. But that's where I want to provide my family, just like everybody else. Really has nothing to do with your judgment, Chairman, or Mr. Chipman or Anna. But I just want everybody to know that I got 38 acres to build one house. And by law, when Larry put them all together, That's what I did. And Mr. Chipman said, so this gentleman can go get another parcel and do a subdivision. And I'm not asking to do a subdivision. I'm asking to do one house. And that's why we combined all of them. So I can't stress to everybody enough that we want one house. Do we have more hurdles? Yes. I would just appreciate it that it is my right to be able to ask for one lot, one house on one land, 38 acres. Is it unusual in Bridgewater? Yes, I agree. But is it something that I work for and that I want to have and that I have entitled to have and it's my right? I think it is. So I would just like everybody to know this is my dream, and I'm not there to hurt anybody, but I just want everybody to know that we're not trying to make the neighborhood any worse, any better than it is. I think we've made it a little bit better, but I want one house, and we're going to try, and we're not going to stop to try to get one house. And I think we got shut down last time. I spent a lot more money to go get 2 more parcels. We now have a legal access road. And from what I understand, conservation has to grant us right to our parcel. So we'll deal with those chips later. But I just can't stress to the board, thank you for listening to me. We got shut down last time. We did everything the right way. We acquired 2 pieces of land. Larry did some homework. We found the parcels. We bought the parcels, or under agreement to buy the parcels. And we understand we got an uphill battle against us, but to have this animosity with the neighbors of, you know, we're trying to make a bad neighborhood on 38 acres. I'm a little ant in the middle of the woods on 38 acres. So I would just appreciate it. Just, you know, welcome me to the neighborhood. Don't just stomp me down like I'm a nobody, because that's not fair. Thank you, the board. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Jen, are we all set with comments?
I don't see anybody else, so.
Right then.
Wait, somebody just popped up. Hold on. Sandra Keneally. Go ahead. Oh, you're unmuted.
Hey, so thank you. It's Art Keneally, and I live at 1310 Vernon Street, and I also represent the both Irene and Jerry Ouellette, who live at 1286. Due to medical reasons, they couldn't be at the meeting tonight. And we would like you to know that Mr. Bajinga did what he said he would do, which he did lower the water level down here, and it's the lowest level I've ever seen it in all the years I've been here. So thank you for that, Manny. And we do understand that it's just one house and not a full development, and he does not have an intention at a later date to subdivide this. So we appreciate that too. And we hope that I can tell you that in my interactions with Mr. Bajinga, he's been very professional. So with that, for my wife and I and the Ouellettes, he's satisfied everything that we've asked him to do. That's all.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, and Kevin Newton again. Hold on one second.
Thank you again, Kevin Newton, 1370 Vernon Street. Probably not your territory, but I heard that water was altered, the path of water was altered. Is that true? Was there a permit pulled for that?
Level of water?
That was with the town.
The town made the adjustments. Mandy worked with them in order to encourage them to improve the situation in the area.
Okay.
But it was the town that did the work.
Jennifer, would I be able to set an appointment with you to just speak about that at some point?
I don't know. It was a highway, Larry, that did it.
The highway was involved.
Yeah.
And I think he should talk with Steve Sorbo, maybe.
Yeah. So I have your email because you emailed us earlier this week. I can email you the contact that would be the best person for you to speak to.
All right. Thank you. I just don't understand how that would occur without a butter notifications or permitting through the conservation, but I understand it's a different avenue for me to speak.
It has to do with mosquito control.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll send you his email.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We all set, Jen, with comments?
I believe so, yep.
If one of the members would make a motion to close the public comment section.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. If someone would like to make a motion based upon the applicant's meeting the retreat lot requirements in regards to the special permit. I have to make a motion to grant the special permit.
I'd make a motion to grant the special permit under 6.12, allowing this retreat lot to meet all the requirements.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we are all set here. The special permit will be issued. Jen, if you just want to give Manny the...
So it should be issued probably within the next week, 10 days, and then there's a 20-day appeal period. And then after that, you can proceed. We'll mail that once it's filed with the town clerk to let you know when your appeal period starts. So, yes.
All right. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay. The only other thing left on our agenda tonight would be the approval of the last meeting's minutes.
Make a motion to approve the last meeting's minutes from what date was it?
That would be June 24th.
June 24th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We don't have a director's report, I'm assuming, Jen.
No, not tonight. And I don't believe there's any, and Jasmine can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there's anything on the agenda for your next scheduled meeting. So
Yeah, she said there wasn't earlier, so.
yeah, so I think
I won't be around for that.
yeah, so I think we'll probably end up canceling that meeting and see you guys sometime in August, I guess.
August, yeah.
Anna, are you taking vacation?
No, I just can't believe we're already talking about August already. That's why I was shaking my head, being like, where is this summer going?
I was like, we'll see you, and you're like, no, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, sorry. It's a job hazard. I you know.
All right.
All right, if someone would make a motion to close the meeting.
So move.
In favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for your support here tonight.
Thank you.
Well done.
Aye.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.